Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Here Be Dragon event, in which the Mervorax is added to the game. If you want the Nintendo Switch version of the current event, it'll be in the top right corner. But for everyone else, let's get into this one. So, it is version 4.3 now, and they have made some changes to the shop. One of the most noteworthy one, of course, is now that we can only buy this thing 10 times per week if we so choose, and you can just do that simply with this little slider thing. But yeah, these new sliders, they are now a thing, and it makes it a lot easier to buy very high quantity, and this is particularly noteworthy with all of the new event troops. You may also notice that this pack is slightly differently priced. This is mainly because they had to make all of them one times in order to make it work with this new quantity system. So the common, I believe, is going to be 150 or 200 glory. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 150 glory. The rare, as you can see, is obviously 200 glory, and the ultra rare and epic should be unaffected at their 300 and 400 glory, respectively. Even though this will require the common and rare to require more glory than it normally would, you are, however, getting all this loot for quite a bit cheaper than you normally would. Normally, all of this would end up costing you at minimum 300 glory. But now it should be 200 on the rare and possibly even 150 on the common. You do only get one copy of the troop instead of two, but still overall it is, I'd say, pretty decent value. Especially if you still are in need of the trait stone, since it would be even better value overall for the trait stone as well as all these resources. The only thing you're getting less value on is basically the troop. So basically, bottom line is it'll mainly be a little bit more annoying in late game because you have to spend more glory for these. However, in early and mid game, it'll actually be more beneficial, the change that they ended up making. Anyways, this thing comes with a brown green arcane, or sorry, a brown yellow arcane. This is a really decent arcane trait stone that's used for a lot of good things, both in early game, mid game, and pretty much late game. Early on in the game, you'd want to put it into Cockatrice, Dragonian Monk, and Gobtromper. Gobtromper is particularly good at taking out those goblins in pet battles. You're still struggling with them. Later on in the game, you go into things like Gorgolfa and Wrath, both really good first slots. And then you just go into all the mythics that simply use that arcane trait stone. But as you can see, we now have a quality slider for this. So if we just click this, we can get it all the way up to ultra rare, then epic, then legendary, and we can simply go buy it all the way to mythic for only 18,000 glory. And there we go. And then we end up getting all the copies we need to go and max it out. All the arcanes, a bunch of miners, a bunch of gold, some glory keys, and some gold keys that we can go use. Anyways, and of course that takes like seconds instead of the multiple clicking that it would take in the past. So, this troop, it is pretty much useless. However, some submerged teams in the future may be able to use it to some degree. As it currently stands, it's pretty average though. It just deals damage to an enemy and then creates 6 blue. And it's boosted by every single submerged ally for a total of 18 gems, of course. If your entire team was submerged. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, it can actually only cap at 15. Mainly because submerge works in a really weird way when it boost ratios. As I believe the ability triggers before the submerge check. So you would never be able to get a submerge check on the troop that actually casts it, which is a little bit weird. I don't believe they fixed that mechanic yet, and is something that they should, because everything that has a submerge boost ratio can't really use its own submerge boost ratio if it ends up removing its own submerge, like this troop does. But yeah, so maybe it might only be able to get a gap of 15, a little bit less than that. But overall, every single one of these troops that they keep adding, that keep boosting off of a single stats effect, are pretty bad for the most part, just because it's hard to keep the stats effect in play, and their ability is basically useless whenever that stats effect is not in play. As far as its traits, it's pretty underwhelming as well. It does have a bleed on it, but other than that, that is pretty much the only noteworthy thing that that thing has. And overall, will just be used with some kind of, occasionally with submerged spam, but for the most part, is not going to be useful for much. Okay, as far as event objectives, of course, if you want the most recent mythic that was added last Friday, you can still get it in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chests for this week, all the way up until Friday reset. If you do not want this mythic because it is pretty below average, you're going to want to wait until at minimum Friday before you open any of your Glory Gem Guild or VIP keys that you may have laying around. Because if you open them now, you'll have a chance of getting her instead of a mythic that is actually good. So you're probably going to want to wait just so you don't waste any of your keys, or at least not the mythic drop off one of your keys. Anyways, 10% to all Merlantis, 10% to all Merfolk, which is almost the entirety of the kingdom. We get 2 times trait stones if we end up using this thing in a PvP team, and we'll be showing one of those in a moment. And other than that, we have treasure hunt this week, so we got to go do a bunch of treasure hunt if we do want to go and accumulate all of our event gems that way, versus playing out the treasure hunt maps, rushing through them as quickly as possible is the most efficient way of getting those done. Anyways, chest, as I mentioned, it is a Merlantis event. This means we will have Merlantis drops as far as all of our drops in the event key drop table. As far as the full breakdown on that, we can just simply go over to Merlantis. One noteworthy thing to really mention about this patch is now event keys will drop literally everything from the kingdom except for the faction troops. So as you can see here, we do have those 4 faction troops. Other than the faction troops, it will drop the commons, it will drop the rares, it will drop everything that the kingdom has to offer, making it easier to get the full range of troops upgraded from a kingdom, all the ones that are required for kingdom upgrades. But yeah, so literally anything you see here will be obtainable from it. The only real noteworthy thing you can get for free, and it's Azura. Azura is the best thing from this kingdom. It has Dispel, has a lot of mana accumulation, has stat reduction, but you can just simply get her for free from completing out that kingdom. So there really isn't much of a need to open up keys this week. The only reason you might go for is if you still want to try getting a copy of Nimue, or if you want to try getting a copy of Undyne for Blue Guild War. Other than that, there's essentially nothing from this kingdom that's relevant. Next thing, we have Guild Wars. Guild Wars will pan out the same way that it always has, but there is one small change that has happened to it during version 4.3, and that is the fact that you can no longer see what guild you're going to be facing. You can, of course, still see the brackets and all that. However, you cannot tell who you're going to be facing on every single given day. This is mainly to prevent some, or at least try to prevent, cheating at the higher bracket levels, since people go to see what the other guild is, try coordinating with that guild and set ridiculously weak teams. And now that will be slightly less possible. I'm pretty sure people will still find a way around it, but at least it is a lot less likely for it to occur now. So that should hopefully make the higher brackets of Guild Wars not as cheaty. We'll see. But anyways, other than that, we of course have a lot of various events going on this week. The 2 most noteworthy, actually almost all of them are noteworthy other than this first one. First things first, I am not 100% sure if it will be, but all of these events could potentially have potions now. Potions is a new thing that was added in the most recent version of 4.3. Potions basically just give you some extra bonuses whenever you do any of these events. And all of these could theoretically have it, though I don't know if they're actually releasing it this week or they're waiting until next week. But this faction event could have it for the Crypt. We're getting a new pet on Wednesday for Merlantis bonus, which whenever you use a team of Merlantis troops. And this could potentially have potions on it. The Titan hero class, the best hero class in the entire game, is getting a class event this Thursday, so really good if you haven't already gotten that max to go buy some EXP and just do that event and, you know, just get Titan max if you haven't already. Really insanely good class, but that might have potions attached to it. And the new faction coming out this Friday, I really hope better have new potions attached to it, because that's one of the whole points of potions, at least from a late game perspective, is to try to use them on new factions to get level on the weekend long ones, to try to get level 500 pure faction completed. That is not their main fix that they're doing for pure faction. However, it's a good enough fix at the moment that if you really wanted to go get a level 500 faction, you can use the new potion mechanic to do so. I am not 100% sure if all these events will have it this week, but it will definitely start taking place next week if it doesn't start taking place tomorrow, but we'll just have to see and wait to know for sure. Anyways, Soulforge, before we get into teams, Soulforge this week, there is one thing worth crafting, and that is Ubistet. It's actually the mythic that's currently available on the Nintendo Switch version, actually, in Glory Gem Guild and VIP chests. It is not as good as it used to be, but it's still a decent double kill trip. It ends up getting a boost ratio based on all of the ally and enemy attacks, so basically all attack and play. They did end up lowering the boost ratio in the past, as well as hiring his mana cost slightly in the past, which has made him a little bit less viable, but overall, his whole premise is he gets double kill into another double kill and then win. Plays somewhat similarly to that of stuff like Ketris or any of those like adjacent hitting troops, simply that he'll basically get 2 kills for the most part every single time he ends up doing a cast. So is he really worth it? Probably not. There's a lot of better things these days, like Iron Gut and mainly Iron Gut. Iron Gut, even Ketris I'd probably say is better. However, he is required to get +1 attack off of the Pride Lands Kingdom, so that's one of the reasons why you'd kind of still want to consider him, even if you're not planning on using him. +1 attack is still a pretty nice stat to have. But out of everything that's currently in Soulforge, it's the only one you should really be bothering with this week. Anyways, PvP stuff. Let's get into that. Oh no, immediately we are up against a rope dart team. So much so I almost feel like taking a weaker team, but okay, fine. We'll take out rope darts. For one, I did want to really quickly just go over a change that happened to Tina 9000, as well as similar troops to her ability. Basically, they changed all these abilities that have multi-hits like this. Sometimes they would multi-hit an enemy that was already dead. midway through last week, they ended up making a change to all of these troops in that they will retroactively retarget a different troop. So instead of wasting some of its shots on something that's already dead, it will now no longer do that. So that is pretty nice. This happened midway through last week, so if I figured I'd just cover it now instead of just doing a really short video on it earlier. I covered it on stream, but did want to mention it real quick in this video. But hopefully we can actually get an instance of it showing here. Not sure if we will be able to. But basically the whole premise now is it will no longer miss any of its 3 hits. All 3 of its hits will find a target. So that will just die. Hopefully this can hit the first slot twice. And it can still multi-hit enemies, of course, like that. But it will never miss a single one of its 3 hits ever again. That's pretty cool. So we'll go throw this down. And that does make Tina quite a bit more viable than she previously was. She's probably still around average as far as mythics are concerned, but definitely at least a little bit better. I'll throw that down, and anyways, kill it. Might as well use Tina 4 instead of anything else. And dead. And of course, Essence of Evil is still insanely good. That has not changed, other than the fact that they lowered the Hex to its normal 10%, but they did that last week. Anyways, that's that. Next order of business is finding a team that is not a fake team. Of course, when we don't want fire bombs, we're going to find every single firebomb in existence. That's how it always works. Anyways, you want to go farm trait stones this week. Basically, what you'd want to do is use Coral Golem plus the Mervorax plus any 2 damage sources. And that is pretty much your team. I'm just using Dawnbringer Skyla here. You can, of course, use cheaper options. I'm also using this with Frost Mage. Main reason for this is Frost Mage has a Submerge every 4 times, 5 times gem match that you do. So you'll be able to keep gaining Submerges so you can keep gaining more blues off his ability. And that's basically the whole premise that we're going with. Also, real quick, since we can upgrade him now, might as well go upgrade him. Since we bought all those up, just get all that. Get all his levels just so he does a little bit more damage and doesn't die as quickly. And there we go. And he's basically like a Hellcat in a way. Hellcat, but really weird. He's a really weird version of Hellcat. And of course, the Coral Golem, main reason for this is it does 4 submerges as long as we hit a bunch of green, wasn't it? Green or blue? Yeah, green. Making sure. Okay, well, don't have any starting blues. That is actually what we wanted to go for initially here. Unfortunately, we do not have it. So I'll just take a skull for now. A little bit of green off the sky. Those Pokas. Luckily, that has 50% skull reduction, so it shouldn't matter as much. Also, this isn't really the most viable of teams, obviously. I just wanted to try figuring out something that we could end up using with this guy. Of course, you could also plop him up with other triples, but I actually wanted to use him in something that he thematically works in, rather than just shoving him into 3 strong troops. But we'll go here, and basically the whole point of having this is we can go use this like right over here. That will give us a bunch of Submerge, and now that will be able to boost ratio its ability. So we'll simply just go and poke something like his last slot there, get a bunch of blue. As you saw, the Submerge did do a little, or the amount of blues it did was a little bit less. As I mentioned, for whatever reason, they have the Submerge check afterwards. So it gets rid of his Submerge, and then it checks to see if this troop has Submerge. So it'll always not have Submerge. So even if you have Submerge on it, the cap is basically only 3 instead of 4, because it will never count itself as its 3 gems that it does. Anyways, also keep in mind you do lose your Submerge every time you take a skull or cast with a specific troop. So we will keep losing those, but we'll take our skull right there. Try getting another damage down. And can I get this coral doing anything? I guess we can just do that right off the top. Get our Submerges, try for the skull there. Of course, all it does is give him 5 times skulls. Not what we want to see. And let's see. We'll keep getting summons. Oh, maybe we should target you. Gonna be the bigger threat right now. So right now, ideally, we'd go get his mana up so we can actually go and get a bunch of blues here. But it doesn't look like it wants to let us do that. So he'll just kill that out. Don't let us lose. We need those 2 times trait stones. Raph's about to kill us. New mythic I keep saying is horrible is gonna kill us. That's how it normally goes. Okay, we'll take that over. I'll get rid of our Submerge. It does have bleed on skull that will rack up a little bit of damage over time, and of course that does stack, do a little bit of damage, but overall still just kind of average. Take the skull right there. I think we'll be able to get the kill right there with a skull, and then let's go Dawnbringer to 1 more poke, and that should pretty much be matched. We'll go put another bleed on it, and apparently we can just kill it with 1 billion skulls, as a skull storm off of Skyla is helping us a little bit. Anyways, one last thing, for the event on Thursday, of course, we have to go use Titan. Titan is the absolute best hero class in the entire game, and one of the teams that you can actually use for the event itself is somewhat meta at the moment. It is Yarrow, Fire Giant, Dawnbringer, Hindla. Well, I shouldn't really say meta. It works. It's not really one of the better teams in the game. However, this team is probably most notorious for the fact that it has the highest base HP of any team in the entire game, and probably will, until they add a faction for this kingdom, be the highest possible HP you could ever have. So that's kind of cool. But you can use this for the event. Obviously, if you need something cheaper, you can replace out Dawnbringer for Black Manacle. Otherwise, if you need something even cheaper than that, you're basically just going to have to spam a bunch of, what's his name? You're going to be restricted to specifically Stormheim and Giants for the Thursday event. So if we just go to Stormheim over here and Giants over here, you'll end up bringing up every single thing that you can use. And if you click show all to see all the ones that you may not have. But basically, obviously him for barrier spam wouldn't be too bad if you want to put that in. Hyndla's spam is really good if you have multiple copies of her. She's really good for her final trait, which ends up giving you a Titan hero class as well as any other giant on your team. Bunch of life and magic every single time you cast that. But other than that, if you don't really have any options, you're basically just going to have to spam either Fire Giant with his final trait into any red-related weapon, like Mang, which will probably be your best bet. And alternatively, you could also try doing Dawnbringer with triple Zephyrus. If you happen to have Dawnbringer but somehow don't have Hyndla or Yerl, that'd be slightly cheaper. But either of those, basically, is just either of the ones with the link, Fire Giant being cheaper, spam it into Mang, and you can pretty much just do Mang with triple Fire Giant, fully traded with for every single battle, and you should be able to get away with it, using Titan hero class, obviously. Anyways, we'll just show this team real quick. You can actually use this for Guild War Defense as well. Wouldn't really advise it as a PvP team, as it is rather slow. However, been a while since we used it, so might as well. So we'll go through that down. He does not have freeze, which is good because his team hates freeze. We'll go and I guess we'll just hit his hero for now. That 15% instant kill looks intimidating. This does do triple damage to things that are burning. However, we currently do not have enough damage. However, we do gain more damage every single time we take an extra turn. So we can use extra turns to increase that damage off of Hyndla. And it should be... Oh, wait, never mind. Okay, still has burn. So it should be killable, right? What's 29 3 times? Yeah, that's enough. That's way more than enough. We'll do that, get a bunch of reds. And we just keep the cycle going. Go through another... Yeah, oh, why did I do it on him? He's already burning. Well, it's fine. We'll just take a skull. That'll kill that out. But you could take the skull down this way. Even though it's less damage, it has a chance of giving us another skull, which we actually did get. And it's still our turn because that little extra turn we got. And Hyndla's adjacent damage is enough to kill us. So I'm going to do that just to make sure he doesn't web us. Never mind. Yeah, 41 scales downwards, not upwards. My bad. Yeah, almost everything in this game scales down. So that's 41 scaled down to 20 instead of 21. Unfortunate, but there we go. But yeah, it's pretty much everything for this event week. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Of course, the main thing coming this week being the new faction this Friday, which we'll be covering extensively once it ends up releasing. Anyways, guys, I'll see you all later. Best of luck if you're still going to try for the Mythic. And goodbye, everyone.